Proposition 6. Eliminate certain road repair and transportation funding. Require certain fuel taxes and vehicle fees be approved by the electorate. Initiative Constitutional Amendment. Plain language: repeal recent gas and vehicle taxes and require a public vote to increase them in the future. The background. The state currently taxes our gas. It also collects driver license fees and newly enacted transportation improvement fees, both of which are based on a vehicle's value. All this is to pay for highways, roads, and public transit. Currently, California spends $35 billion per year on transportation funding. $16 billion comes from local sources, sales taxes, transit fares, and local government funds. $12 billion comes from state sources, state fuel and vehicle taxes, and $7 billion comes from federal sources, mainly federal fuel taxes. State funding has increased by about 3/4 over the past 2 years, mainly due to recent legislation. In 2017, the legislature enacted Senate Bill SB 1 to increase state funding for transportation. Here's what they did. They raised the excise tax on gasoline from 18 cents per gallon to 30 cents per gallon. There's a second excise tax on gasoline that had a variable rate, and they fixed it at 17.3 cents per gallon. The excise tax on diesel fuel was also variable, and they fixed that at 36 cents per gallon. They raised the sales tax on diesel from 1.75% to 5.75%. They created a transportation improvement fee of $25 to $175 for car owners. They added a $100 fee for all zero-emissions vehicles. Long story short, last year, the legislature passed a series of gas and vehicle taxes. Prop 6 would repeal them all and change the law to require a public vote to increase transportation taxes in the future. This includes tax increases on the sale, storage, use, or consumption of gasoline or diesel fuel. This would also apply to vehicle fees and transportation improvement fees. Fiscal impact. The fiscal impact of Prop 6 would be a reduction in transportation tax revenue of $5.1 billion annually. This would mostly affect highway road maintenance and repair programs, as well as transit programs. It would also likely keep transportation revenues lower, as it will be harder for the government to raise transportation taxes if it requires voter approval. I know we talk about a lot of happy things on the Daryl Johnson Show, but sometimes we have to talk about death. I've heard some of you have decided not to support the Daryl Johnson Show. I've obtained 3 innocent stuffed animals from an unnamed source, and if you don't support the Daryl Johnson Show, they're all dying, one by one. This one's name is Fluffy. This is Mr. Snuggles. This is Lamb Chop. And this is my knife. I want to see my Patreon and PayPal accounts full of unmarked bills before the end of this series, or these 3 will die, and it's all your fault. Furthermore, I'm mailing all the stuffing to your place of employment. I have your address. From Yes on Prop 6. Vote yes on Prop 6 to immediately lower the price you pay for gasoline. Fact: California's cost of living is skyrocketing and working families can barely keep up. The new gas tax and car tax hikes can cost a family of 4 more than $500 per year. That's not pennies, that's real money. Fact: the gas tax hike is not fair. It's a regressive tax that hits working families and the poor much harder than the wealthy. Fact: Californians pay about 95.5 cents to the government on every gallon of gas. That's about $18 in taxes and fees on a typical fill-up, much more than motorists pay in other states. Fact: California has $16 billion in surplus, but the California politicians decided to spend billions this year on their pet projects instead of improving roads, bridges, and highways. In fact, the legislature actually reduced Caltrans funding by 18% over the last 10 years. Fact: 72% of state motor vehicle-related taxes and fees collected by the state are used for programs other than streets, roads, and highways. It's time to end the transportation funding shell game. Don't be fooled by opponents who claim there's no money to fix roads if Prop 6 passes. If the transportation-related taxes and fees we already paid before this new tax increase took effect were spent on transportation, the state would have $5.6 billion annually for transportation needs without raising taxes. Before raising gas and car taxes by $52 billion over 10 years, the legislature should clean up the corruption and inefficiency that causes California to spend 62% above the national average to build highway lanes. Vote yes on Prop 6 to demand the politicians spend our transportation tax dollars as intended and promised to maintain our streets, highways, and bridges and end the Sacramento shell game. From No on Prop 6. Vote no on Prop 6. Stop the attack on bridge and road safety. The California Professional Firefighters, California Association of Highway Patrolmen, American Society of Civil Engineers, and first responders urge no on Prop 6 because it will stop critical transportation projects and jeopardize the safety of our bridges and roads. Prop 6 eliminates $5 billion annually in existing funds dedicated to fixing roads, bridges, and infrastructure. Prop 6 will stop projects currently underway throughout California to upgrade bridges and overpasses to meet earthquake safety standards and to improve the safety of our roads. Here are the facts. California has more than 1,600 bridges and overpasses that are structurally deficient and unsafe. 89% of counties have roads that are in poor or at-risk condition. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, there are more than 3,600 fatalities on California roads in 2016. Improving road conditions and roadway safety features have been found to have a significant effect on our traffic safety. Prop 6 eliminates funding for more than 6,500 road safety and transportation improvement projects, including 3,727 projects fixing potholes and repaving crumbling unsafe roads, repairs or replacement of 554 bridges and overpasses, 453 improvements to public transportation operations and services including buses and rail, and 337 projects relieving traffic congestion. The California Chamber of Commerce opposes Prop 6 because it could eliminate 68,000 jobs annually and $183 billion in economic investments as thousands of road construction projects are halted. These people hate Prop 6. Prop 6 does not contain one single provision guaranteeing our gas prices will be reduced. Don't be misled. Out-of-state politicians and special interests spend millions of dollars to put Prop 6 on the ballot. Prop 6 will make our bridges, roads, and transportation system less safe and will end up paying more in the long run as roads further deteriorate. This prop is unusual because it involves the state of California borrowing and spending more money at taxpayer expense. Well, I guess in this case it's not borrowing, it's just taking. Ha 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 ha. This is the proposition I am most passionate about. There are good days and there are great days, and then there are days when you get to vote yes on Prop 6. Jerry Brown and his little buddies thought they could just slide in their little $5 billion tax increase and then go out for a steak dinner and feast. Yeah, Mr. Sneaky Pants, you thought you were going to be able to just pop your gas tax on the state and we were just going to sit there and take it. Well, you know what, Jerry Brown? We are tired of your gas. We don't want your gas around here anymore or any of its new taxes. I want to reiterate, as I did in Prop 4, that I am not against funding transportation projects. Also, this isn't a choice between funding transportation projects and not funding transportation projects. The choice here is using the transportation budget to cover transportation projects or taxing Californians even more just because we can. That is what the government does. They say, "We have a problem to fix. Why don't you let us tax you and then we'll take care of that problem for you." And then they take your money and spend it on pension funds or office furniture or administrative costs. And then when you say, "Hey, what about this problem?" they say, "Oh yeah, we need to fix that. Let's add a new tax, or how about a $20 billion bond and we'll pay it back over 75 years. And then you say, "But what about the money you already took from us and put in the fund to solve that problem?" "Well, yeah, we don't have that money anymore, but we fixed the problem now. We have new accountability measures in place and strict audits. Now we'll really do it this time." There's a book I read when I was in elementary school. Maybe you read it too. It's called When You Give a Mouse a Cookie. Basically, if you give a mouse a cookie, then it wants milk, and then it wants a couch to relax on, etc., etc. It's a cute book that's kind of like the California tax system, except in the case of California, it'd be more like when you give a big fat bloated walrus a cookie. Guys, we have a transportation budget. It's there to fix roads and bridges and crap. Use that money and don't come back here with another tax increase for something that is already in the budget and that you already taxed us for. If you vote yes on Prop 6, you are voting to eliminate the new gas tax and vehicle taxes and require a public vote to add future transportation taxes. If you vote no on Prop 6, you are voting to keep the increased fuel taxes and allow the legislature to retain the power to raise them without a public vote. The Daryl Johnson Show says yes on Prop 6.